Yes, we should be live as well. Hello, Paulette. Welcome, Pauline. Welcome, Marisa, Anais, Ollie. Yes, we should be live as well. Hello, Paulette.
I'll turn the volume.
Welcome, Pauline. Welcome, Marisa, Anais, Ollie. Sorry, guys. Okay, I closed that tab. All right. I think now we are ready. All right. Let me do the speaker view. Just to mention, yes, we're recording this, but if in any moment you feel you don't want to be included, like your audio, you can let me know and I will be editing later and make sure to take care of it. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. One more time, welcome. This is the official one. Welcome to Expose premiere, the first episode, which is called Groomed. And you can ask, why Groomed? Why 15 episodes? Like, what is this girl doing? Like, does she even speak good American? No, I don't, but I have a cute accent. I'm from Poland, you're right. Why I did those 15 episodes is because I was asked over a year ago here in California, in Oxnard. I created local gatherings with people from here. Thank you, Ollie. I will try not to look at the chat so I don't get distracted here. But you guys are invited to post things in the chat. I was invited to share my story during the local gatherings I created with the local people here in Oxnard who also experience abusive relationships. Some of them, others don't. They saw the documentary of 30 minutes of the expose and they asked me, hey, where's your story? Like, why are you doing this actually? Show us more about thriving, show us more about how to heal. Don't keep it so small, just about the trauma and abuse. So I took it in, that feedback, and those are the 15 episodes. Today is the first premiere of the first one. And I want to demonstrate this light. I'm sure you can see it. There is a candle with a light. And 2 weeks ago, on August 22nd, there was a light as well. On another side, Grace, my co-host from Canada, she was bringing that light as a metaphor of my presence and the hope for all thrivers. And I'm bringing this fire. It's actually fire, because as we look back, our ancestors, they used to, as you know yourself, they used to gather in cycle around the fire, share stories. That's before the alphabet was created. They shared stories of their culture, but most of those stories, as I see them, they were not about thriving, but mostly about surviving. So as I'm sharing this, it's with so much love and honor to our ancestors. Because of them, we are here. But the reason why I'm bringing this to this holy space is because I would like to invite you. If now it's the time, if you feel safe to do so, to close your eyes. If you don't want to keep your eyes open and hear my voice of invitation coming to you. Imagine two lines of your ancestors on the back of you, one on the right and one on the left, from your mother and from your father. Imagine those lines and Thank them. Thank you. The words change. Your systems are not working anymore. I return to you what is yours and keep what's mine. And you can open your eyes and see what happens. How does it feel? If anything changed, maybe it was awkward, that's okay. Anais gives me hands up. So we gathered to talk about grooming, but what grooming is. So I went to, my library, I opened dictionary and I look of the meaning of grooming in Latin. And I found 7 words very similar. And all of them, what they have in common is that they are talking about like polishing and training and kind of what comes in my mind, conditioning. So what if grooming was a conditioning, a way to control? So what is the solution? Why I'm talking about conditioning? As you're going to see in this documentary, there are stories of women who have been victimized in military environment or by a life coach, like in my situation. But the topic is so much bigger and has been centuries of that. And this has to stop. And that's why we gather here. And now, as we are settling, I want to bring this picture of what is the solution for grooming. As I remember in 2015, when I met my life coach, back then, my life coach, quote unquote, in Barcelona, my first body sensation was something is off. Why he's not like smiling? It feels weird to just be in his presence. And my body felt like, whoa, I wanted to walk away. But because of the conditioning, I didn't. Because of the people pleasing, I didn't. Because of being like all about making sure I put that mask of being pleasing, I couldn't betray my systems. But what I want to invite you as we are landing here is, yes, to listen to your body. The next time you meet somebody, make a scan. Like, what am I feeling? Oh, why I have a, I don't know, stomach upset, something going on in my throat. Oh my God, my head, it feels weird. And find an excuse. If, life is funny, why not use an humor in that? And it can save your life. It can save years of life. It really can. So as I'm landing here, I would like to invite you for the very last visualization. You can keep your eyes open or closed and see both lines, 2 lines in front of you, one on the left and one on the right. Those are symbolizing the future generations. And what I want to invite you is to visualize all those moments in your life which brought you where you are today, here on September 5th to this room. All those moments, see them, thank them. For me, most of them were surviving, or coming from a survival place, but I'm ready to make the shift today. That's what I want to invite you in this space to make that shift with me. And that's the right side. As you look on the right, you can close your eyes or keep them open. Imagine those beautiful things, scary things your soul wants to do. And now, looking on the left, I invite you to say, this is not me. This is no longer me. And now looking on the right at your dreams and visions, things which scare you, which excites you, I invite you to say with me, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. Thank you. And how does it feel? I can feel the energy shifted in the room. That's how I felt a little. I don't know, guys, if you feel it. I love that some of you were using hands. And now is the time for the surprise. Oh my God, what did she do? What did she do? Okay, so it wasn't me. It wasn't me this time. I wish. It was actually Grace herself who decided to fly from Canada for this premiere to celebrate in presence, guys. She is in person. And what Grace symbolized is that energy of thriving, that energy we just opened the doors a few seconds ago. And what if, that's my last question, what if thriving meant being able to be present with ourselves and others? Thank you. And Grace, or also after Grace's speech, she's coming here. No, Grace. I have 2 exercises for you guys to do in case you get triggered. Okay, you remind me, please. Hey, we get balloons. What's going on? Something.
Oh my goodness. Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi from LA. This is really special to be doing this side by side here with Anna. I really wanted to come down for the premiere a couple of weeks ago, but I couldn't. But being physically beside someone as they're going through anything, bad or good, it's something that means a lot to me. And I've been so lucky to have had that happen for me. And also so unfortunate to not have had that happen for me. And having someone physically with you and beside you, it makes all the difference. Especially in the early days of realizing that a relationship is coercively unhealthy. And many find themselves alone, and many find themselves with loved ones who state that they refuse to help. If you were here for the premiere, you would have seen me light that candle like Anna had talked about. And it was to bring Anna's presence near. And I brought my presence here as it's what I hope becomes abundant for survivors, so that those around them understand they need you near. And it's important to physically be there for someone, for survivors, because it helps break that cycle of normalizing the abuse that's around them and that's happening to them. And the combination of someone's voice speaking to them live and in the moment, and we had that last year. We got to experience what that was like and how powerful that was. It's a combination of that voice speaking to somebody live in the moment and physically being there that is really powerful. And what is really powerful about Anna's first episode about grooming is that the information we will learn can help someone sidestep that relationship altogether. And that would help save that person from all the future stages and phases. And that then would help that person preserve so much of a healthy life.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. That brought tears in my soul. Thank you. So now, as we're about to share the screen, I want to show you 2 exercises, which if you feel triggered during the filming, I invite you to do. It's you put your both hands like this with the, I'm showing it right? Yeah. And on your throat, and you can do some tapping. That will help your amygdala to reduce the cortisol and relax. You feel relaxed, or do tapping on your hands. So that's two things you can do. 1, 2. Or I'm also offering a room in case if you get triggered, you can message on private to me or Jason Technical. You will see his name there. And I will meet you and just hold that space for you. Okay. More. Okay. And now as we're going to be watching the movie, I invite you, you can turn off your camera, keep it on. Okay, and I will also ask you to give me hands up or down in case if you can hear it, then hands up. Okay. This is not only story of those 88 people, but this is a story of so many of us. My name is Anastasia Gajkowska, and when I left my abusive relationship, I wanted to create a movie, a film, a documentary where I interview not only survivors, but thrivers. I mean, people who left abusive relationships and they're really thriving now. I flew to Hollywood to learn the art of making films. I asked 8 questions. This documentary is a sample of combined stories. I use my laptop camera, my phone camera. Many recordings you will see in this documentary were filmed by survivors in their own home. All our participants decided to share their story voluntarily. 88 stories, one soul, one voice, one calling for the whole humanity. Welcome to the very first out of 15 episodes of Expose, 88 stories that prove you can thrive after leaving an unhealthy relationship. In this episode, we are going to talk about 5 stages of grooming, which is targeting, creating trust and control, filling up a need, abuse starts, maintaining abuse, and learn how you can recognize and combat this harmful behavior. Enjoy! As a survivor of few abusive relationships, I decided to create this documentary series to break the cycle of abuse once and for all. Targeting. This is when the abuser selects. They target. They might choose someone who seems vulnerable or isolated.
You know, they are out there, they are expert manipulators, they are predators, they're essentially hunting for people like us who are vulnerable, who have got maybe wounds from our childhood or from previous relationships that we thought we were okay, but actually we're not. And they just target us. And because of our attachment style and our own vulnerabilities, we become more susceptible to their manipulations.
They normally start with something called love bombing, where they actually intoxicate you and create a strong chemistry of attachment, because they tell you how fantastic you are. You know, they seem to like the same things. They come with a lot of fast intensity. So you build this idea that they're really great and wonderful and perfect match, and they're really wonderful and sweet. And that becomes your first impression. And when we form one impression of a person, our brain really struggles to accept when we suddenly see the complete opposite. So when the abuse suddenly appears, our brain diminishes this.
And how do they do that? Through our feelings. So they manipulate language, they manipulate our feelings, and before long, our inner narrative serves the narcissist. So all day, every day, I'm having negative feelings about myself. I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid to speak up. I'm afraid to talk to my friends, right? So my subconscious mind now is being downloaded with all this information. I have all of these limiting beliefs, and now the narcissist is in my head. So awakening to that truth and holding on to this idea of consciousness, because consciousness can help you heal trauma.
This person was someone I knew. He was somebody that was in my life. He was also somebody that had status above me within the military. He had higher rank than I did. And I didn't put him in that position, so I trusted him.
I met my ex. He was quite a high-ranking, very influential person at that time in the capital.
He, now looking back, reminded me of my father. He was 10 years my senior. He was articulate. He was well-spoken. He was, it seemed like he was doing okay for himself. And he's, was trying to get my attention for many weeks, and I finally gave in.
He was brash and the bad boy, and I needed an out. I was smothered by my ex before him, and he was a fresh air. He made all these promises and was very charismatic. And in 9 years, though, he never kept one.
He just seemed to be kind of the calm to my storm. He seemed to be very nurturing. He had a good head on his shoulders. He seemed to understand what I had been going through, with my family, and he understood how I would feel when I would come home from work, and just know how to just comfort me, and just whether it be having a warm bath ran for me, or dinner prepared, or hey, I've got a surprise for you. Let's take a drive. We're going to the drive-in, or we're going to have a picnic or something like that. Just something to relieve the stress from work.
He added me as a friend on Facebook, and he asked me out. And initially, I was attracted to the way he looked. He was very muscular, and I was into fitness at the time. And we went on our first date, and I actually didn't find him attractive at all when I first met him. I thought he was really arrogant, and I thought that he didn't have a lot of substance, like he didn't have much to say. And I'm the kind of person, I'm very open and chatty and that kind of thing. And I thought, like, this guy's really simple. Oh, I hadn't heard from him in about a week and a half, and he messaged me to ask me out again. And so I thought, I'll just go, right? So I went, and it was completely different. He was so kind and attentive, and he told me stories of his ex, and I felt sorry for him because he told me that she was a drug addict and she was cheating on him, and he's so messed up from it. And so right away, like, my codependent wanting to fix him kind of kicked in, telling me how nice I am and how lucky he is that I still wanted to go out with him. And so that, like, kind of made me feel like, oh, well, maybe he is okay,
I was in a new country. I didn't speak fluently the language, and I was looking for friends. So yes, I was very, I would say, open to making friends. and I was oversharing many informations without questioning myself why this person is asking me those questions. I felt that, of course, they want to help me, because if I were them, I would do the same thing. So I was mirroring and projecting my own self, my own intention on somebody else. And because of the cognitive bias, I was so much in the impression that, yes, this is a great person because they are so charming and they have this sense of humor and this presence which felt familiar, and it felt unresistible, and it felt so exciting and thrilling to be around them. It felt like, oh, my life is no more boring, and I feel like I have a new sense of life, like, wow. Building trust. Once the target has been chosen, the abuser works on gaining their trust. They might do this by being overly supportive, kind, and understanding. They might seem like the perfect friend, perfect partner at this stage, making the target feel very careful and valued.
I think that it was because he paid attention to me.
They make you feel like you're the most special person in the world.
We got very close very quickly. I thought it was true love instantly.
I mean, he was telling me I was the most beautiful woman he had ever met.
I was attracted to him instantly. We used to always go on nights out and he'd never let me spend a penny. And I've never had that before. I've never had a guy that's done that to me. So I felt really good.
You're the love of my life, and it was a very it was that very quick, like, bonded. There was like I love yous very quickly in the relationship. If I was the queen of his world, so it made me feel special. I finally felt special, and I didn't look at it as being anything else but this person really loves me.
Very romantic, very attentive in listening. He wanted to know me and was fascinated by me. So I was kind of, I don't think I've ever had that attention before. You know, I hadn't had male attention ever. And this man, you know, was coming with, you know, literally the white horse. He was anything that I wanted. And I can remember him saying now, it's like, what do you? I was put on a pedestal. And why? Why did I think I deserved to be on a pedestal? But I fell for it. I did fall for that.
He gave me a lot of attention, and I really loved that, obviously, because of my childhood.
He was handsome. He was my type. Like, we were soulmates. I can remember telling people, gosh, it's crazy. We don't fight. We agree upon everything. He's always there. He's always around.
They learn to say the things that you want to hear and to tell you all the right things, that they love the things that you love, and you're just the best thing, and you're so beautiful and important.
Sex was really, really good. She even smelled like something that would take me back to maybe when I was born.
What attracted me was just this beautiful smile and ease of being with, along with the charisma.
He presented himself as a father.
I was stripping and prostituting, and he kept frequently coming to place of establishment. He also knew some of the friends that I was staying with and hanging out with. And he was giving me attention. He was giving me, remember I told you, he was giving me that attention of, oh, well, this must be love. He must really be interested in me because, you know, he wants to have sex. And not for money.
That was that physical, just very raw attraction.
that I confused for something else.
Love bombing. I mean, he was intensely attentive. Like, he would make appointments for me at the nail salon and sit with me and make me peanut butter sandwiches while I was getting my nails done. He insisted on doing my housework for me, doing my laundry, picking me up and dropping me off when I was going out with my friends. He would tell me stories about how amazing I am and how he's so lucky he found me. He'd give me massages every day. And while he was massaging me, I mean, now I'm thinking back and it's really creepy, but at the time I thought it was so amazing. He would say these super cliche things like, how I am with you now is how I'm going to be with you 6 months from now. And I can see myself marrying you one day and you're my queen and I'm going to treat you like a queen and I'm going to show you that I'm different. He made me trust him really quickly. And I told him a lot of things about my history. And I think, I mean, again, now looking back, he was using that. He knew exactly what to say to make me feel like I could trust him. And that's what hooked me at the beginning. He took me away on a full vacation a month into our meeting, like gifts and oh my God, it was so over the top. So I thought like, wow, I found the anomaly, you know, like this guy's good looking, he's in shape, he's so kind, and he likes me, you know, it's like, wow. And yeah, that's what, originally that's what it was. It was the focus and attention. And again, looking back, it was manipulation, but I thought that I had found my soulmate. I had never met anyone like that before. Like, I had never felt that intense attention. Like, it just felt so good. Like, it was like, wow, you know, this person, I mean, he literally put me on a pedestal, you know, and it just felt so good.
He kind of swooped me off my feet straight away with his gallant, nonchalant, you know. I was treated like a princess. So, of course, I was young, so that was fairy tale come true. He would send a car to get me to take him to the place where I will meet him.
He started taking me out on these really nice dates. And when I say nice, I don't mean in terms of material things. I just meant the way that he treated me, the level of attention that he was giving to me was unlike anything that I had ever seen in any other male courtship. It was opening the car door. It was, you know, making sure, you know, I got in the car okay. It was flowers. It was, you know, it was walks in the park. It was just all of these things that I had never experienced before that seemed like it was straight out of a Hallmark movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. You know, you're 21 years old and somebody's courting you like this, something that you see on TV all the time. It's like, whoa, what did I do to deserve this level of attention? Not realizing that that level of attention was one of the red flags that I had missed. And, you know, time went on and, you know, the more and more that I got attracted to this person, the more and more I missed that he was grooming me for the abuse that he was, you know, eventually going to unleash on me. By the time somebody gives you half of that attention, right, that you craved, as you mentioned, it's like, whoa, I love this, and you're going to miss everything wrong about it. And that's essentially where I was in the beginning of that relationship, missing all the red flags over the next 3 months that we started dating.
Everything that I said that I was wanting, she was literally becoming. In the process of this love bombing stage, I made a mistake as a young man by sleeping with this woman, and she ended up getting pregnant. I was initially attracted to her beauty. We started, you know, hanging out together, starting to get to know each other more. And then she just became all those things and was doing all those things that I wanted in a wife. I hadn't yet decided that I wanted her as my wife, but she ended up getting pregnant, and I didn't want to have a baby out of wedlock, so I went ahead and married her, and that led to a whole another 4 or 5 years of challenges.
On the very first night, he goes, I want to marry you. I want to spend my life with you. You're the most beautiful woman I ever met. He wouldn't let me feed myself. He goes, no girl of mine feeds herself. I feed you. So he was like feeding me. And I thought, my God, that's sexy. That's incredible. And I got sucked in. He was crying, oh, I don't want you to leave. So I never seen that side of a man. He called me every day. He sent me letters every day. Wow, this guy's incredible. The first date, he put all this jewelry on the counter, and he told me, he goes, well, pick something, pick a necklace, you know, pick whatever you want. So I'm looking, and I picked this beautiful necklace, and he goes, well, it's a surprise, it's all for you. So he just swept me off my feet.
I could see how the person I was with was giving me so much time and attention. Oh, those two things, time and attention, the quality of that made me to feel important and safe to share more, and finally trusting them. Stage 3, feeling a need. During this stage, the abuser identifies a need or desire of the target and positions themselves as the solution.
Our relationship started, and I really had fun because we were traveling and everything was accessible to me at that time. But I mean everything. So if I wanted whatever, I would get it. That was also the time of my heroin use, so he was provided as well. And I do not have to say I was quite a heavy user. The financial situation was like he took care of everything.
2 weeks into a relationship with him is different from 2 weeks into a relationship with a normal person. He had already spent so much time with me and already made me feel so attached within that short period of time. I actually believed that he was honest and he actually had an interest in me.
We got along. It was like we were soulmates. I can remember telling people, gosh, it's crazy. We don't fight. We agree upon everything. He's always there. He's always around. And I think he was my first boyfriend as well. So I think I just craved that. And there's just, you know, the attention and finally just kind of having somebody there all the time. And it was just great. And I didn't really question any red flags that may have come up because of that. It was just, I went with it and had a blast until, you know, stuff started randomly popping up.
One of the things that attracted me to my horrible husband, that is his official title, was that he was so much more confident than I was. And so I kind of looked at him and thought, yeah, I'd like a bit of that. And because I lacked this sense of being able to stand in my own worth, I didn't realize that he was actually downright arrogant. And being around someone arrogant is a really bad idea. And confidence doesn't mean that you've got to sort of push yourself forward. Confidence, to me, the real thing that we name confidence is just being happy to show up in whatever capacity. You may be the person in the limelight, or you may not, and it doesn't matter. You've got nothing to prove to anyone. And what people choose to think of you is purely down to them. And if they choose not to like you, that's good information. If they don't like you, you're someone, they're someone that you don't want to be around. It isn't an accident that so many of us find ourselves married to an abusive father or abusive mother. That was our normal growing up. So we walk away, we say, as young adults, we say, I'm never going to get involved in a mess like that. And what do? We find someone who's different on day one, and then we find ourselves straight back in that same mess, married to our mother or father. And that is a truly revolting realization.
I was a single mom. I didn't have a lot of help. We don't have a lot of family. And he was there. Like, he was ready to help with whatever. Oh, you know, you need this. Okay, let's go. We're going to do this. Oh, you guys need this. Like, and a lot of, like, I assumed a lot of it was, oh, he needs me to get to basic training, right? Because a recruiter wants you to be successful in what they're recruiting you for. But it was beyond those things. Now, this person was someone I knew. He was somebody that was in my life. He was also somebody that had status above me. Within the military, he had higher rank than I did. And I didn't put him in that position. So I trusted him. And so looking back, I can now see all the boundaries that he broke, not just professionally, but personally.
I just wanted to feel like in home. So they were my home. They became, from a stranger, they became my family member in just a week, which can be, you know, exciting or like really terrifying, because how could you give so much power and information to somebody you met a few days ago? But once again, back then I was unaware of the cognitive dissonance, and I was unaware that grooming exists. Of course, I saw TV, but I felt like, you know, this person has to be good because they're giving me so much time and information and gifts and trips. Of course, they're here for me. Why would they want to do anything bad to me? That wouldn't cross my mind until the last stage of grooming, which is abuse starts.
I didn't think that it was anything that he would ever do. So after it happened, looking back, I guess my moment that I got that feeling like, oh, maybe something isn't right, it was that night, unfortunately. And it was when someone else was involved in the situation and I saw the look on their face, and that's when I got a different feeling. I was like, oh, okay. And I guess that was a huge red flag to me. But and because of our professional relationship, he was my recruiter, so there was a lot of times where I was meeting up with him to sign paperwork and do different things and things like that, where other people weren't involved. When there was someone else around and I saw how he acted around other people, and other people started noticing that how he was acting around me was not normal. And I also think that a lot of people will be the steady in your life. They will make sure that they are a constant, that they seem stable. Even if they're not, they will always be stable in your eyes. Like they manifest themselves to be something much grander than they actually are. And unfortunately, sometimes we believe that grandeur that they create. And so I think a lot of that should have been red flags to me, that things were just too perfect. And you know, like you said, being put on a pedestal. Like, I guess I didn't realize that certain attention that he was paying to me was different. And so maybe, you know, that was another breaking the boundary, where he was maybe making too many meetings with me, and doing things like that, and or checking on me too much, caring too much for what the situation was, being too involved for what his role was. And I think that's what he definitely used against me, was the fact that he had gotten so ingrained and used his professionalism to become ingrained in my family, especially as a recruiter. They have to know your family care plan. They have to know everything about your family. They've got to know all of those different things. So when I definitely started, now that I look back, like the line of professionalism was crossed a lot. So
Stage number 4, abuse starts. Once the abuser feels they have enough control over the target, they might begin to exert their power and manipulate the relationship.
I was 24, he was 27. So we were still in that college phase and going out. And I have a lot of friends. I have many, many, many friends, great friends. And it started being a problem. It started being, I wasn't allowed to talk to people. We had like a neighborhood Cheers bar where I was, friends with people. He was friends with people, but I wasn't allowed to speak to anybody else. And these people would be 60 years old, but I wasn't allowed to hang out with them or do anything, just have a drink, or he didn't like it. And he also didn't have friends of his own, which I thought was very weird, considering that's, all I had was just a posse basically. So it was definitely the first time I didn't understand the jealousy. Because I was constantly with him, there was no reason for it. So that would have been my first definite aha moment that something's not right there, because I've never given him a reason to think anything is wrong.
I started becoming a lot more isolated from my friends and stuff.
My friends were gone.
And they were like, you need to just finish it. You need to just get rid of him.
So I didn't have people to talk to. I was also told who my friends should be.
How I couldn't speak to anyone else. I couldn't be near anybody else, and it became a very codependent relationship. And then it was the next step of the instant angry, and then I'm sorry.
A ninguna de mis amigas le caían bien.
My family saw this before me.
My friends were making the odd comment. You're a different person. You're not the person that we know. You're not the person that we love.
Why are you still talking to this person? To the point where I secretly had them in my life.
I pretended it wasn't happening. I pretended that everything was all right. And yes, I've got the perfect partner. No, he treats me so well.
We're in denial. We don't no longer trust our instincts. We no longer trust the way we feel. The narcissist has convinced us that if our friends talk to us that way, we need to cut them out of our lives because they're jealous of our relationship, or they're trying to get in between us. And so now I push my friends away.
And what they do is they try to alienate you. They try and separate you from your friends and your family so that they have ultimate control.
I did not see anything wrong. I did not see how I was 6 months into relationship, not seeing any of my friends, how I was not talking to my mom anymore. Like a couple of months in, I was not allowed to socialize with certain people, go out, have friends, and this was so subtle. For me, it was natural to ask him permission. It's so subtle that you don't even understand. It becomes natural to just ask your boyfriend, can I don't know, buy those shoes, or call my mom, or I want to go and visit my sister for a weekend. Can I go? That's not a healthy, that's not a healthy and normal relationship at all. My friends were telling me that something is not really right here. Like this, how it looks from outside, it's not really right, but I wasn't listening to them because I was in love.
And the big one obviously was the blaming, the full on, it's all you. I'm a great human being, I'm wonderful, and you are a traumatized little child and you need to go heal yourself. And that's where I definitely abandoned myself, because it was very apparent. Like my insides were telling me that's not true. That's not true. But I continue to do that. it was immediate criticisms on everything. You're too loud. You chew too loud.
His inability to process his anger.
Son, go to your room. It was always, hey, you need to go play outside, because I knew that something was coming.
When we ended up getting married, the whole him not accepting the word no became a massive issue. And that's actually one of the reasons why he's in prison, because he's in prison for raping me. And essentially that is because he couldn't accept the word no.
I wasn't allowed to eat my full meal. And he pointed out the dessert. He said, oh, there is a lemon meringue pie. Look at that lemon meringue pie. And I go, wow, lemon meringue pie. And I picked it up and put it in the cart. He went nuts. And this little old lady walks by. She goes, dear, she heard the whole thing. She goes, is that your husband? I go, no. I go, no. She goes, oh, when he becomes your husband, it'll be 100 times worse.
I thought I looked really good. And he said to me, you look like a whore. And I said to him, that really hurts my feelings. That's not cool. He's like, oh, you're just too sensitive. Like, really, get over it. You can't take a joke. I was kidding. I was completely kidding. If you can't take a joke, what's wrong with you?
Just leaving the person for a week without talking, without responding to calls, without anything. That's really like completely this kind of what was later than the silent treatment, just like blinding out of his life. This was the first time where I was already seeing it, but of course it just made me fall more into the victim mode and wanting him back and wanted this to not have happened. Like in the end, it was the first step already to accept the toxicity and say like, okay, I don't want this, but I will not, I didn't feel strong enough to just walk away and say like, okay, this is not okay. So then I let you go.
I was so young and so naive at the time. There was a lot of red flags with his family, the way that they treated each other, spoke to each other. His father was an alcoholic. And I just thought that, well, no, he's not like that. He's not anything like his family. He's different. He doesn't live at home. He's got away from home. And so therefore he's not going to be like them. The situation occurred where I became pregnant. My family was in Australia and I was in New Zealand. So I was put on a plane and sent back to Australia to be dealt with by my family, who of course took me to the doctors and wanted me to have an abortion. I don't know where I found the strength at 15 to go and see a lawyer and find out what my rights were, but I did that. And I said, you can't make me do anything. And so they basically said, well, you've made your bed, you can lie in it, and you can find your own way back home, which I did. And up until that time, things had been going quite well with us. We'd been having fun, we were in a new relationship, there was no real problems. But it wasn't until I got back from Australia, having defied my family and been abandoned by them, that the abuse started. It didn't start until then. And by that stage, I was trapped. I was really in a situation where I had nowhere to go. I was pregnant, I was 15, and my parents didn't want to have anything to do with me. And he just started slapping me around. And I'm like, I didn't really know what it was. I didn't really understand, because all of the feelings that I had inside of me from my love for him was still there. But he was hurting me in a way that I couldn't understand, because he would then say that he loved me afterwards. So I got confused about what love was, and maybe that was part of how he showed me how he loved me.
way. He took me on a little trip. I kind of took it as like, oh my God, he loves me, you know. But on the way back from that trip, he, in the car, asked me if we were officially together. And I said, yeah, you know, of course, you're the only person I'm seeing. And yes, you know, we're officially together. And he then said, okay, I just want you to know that since we're together, there's some things that make me uncomfortable, and I wanted to see if you were okay with it. And I said, okay. So he asked me to take down some of my pictures on my social media. He said that those pictures are pictures that are only suitable for a couple to see, like they're only suitable for him to see right now because I'm his now and like he's mine. Nobody should see those pictures. And I said, I'll think about it. And I took a few down as we were going. He said, I do so many nice things for you. It's just a little thing that you can do for me, seeing as, you know, I'm willing to do all of these things for you. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, you know, he is really nice to me. So maybe I can just do that for him. If it makes him more comfortable, what's the difference? It's just pictures, right? So that was my initial, that was the first thing that happened. A few days later, he changed his profile picture on social media to one of me and him together. And I thought, oh, wow, that's so nice. He wants to show people he's with me and he's proud of me and all these things. So I thought that was nice. But then I got messages at work, text messages at work of him saying that he feels really hurt that I didn't change my profile picture to be of one of him and me. And that he can see now that I don't really care about him as much as he cares about me. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like I don't want him to think that. I want him to know that I care about him. I thought it was weird, of course, but again, I just wanted him to still be as nice to me as he has been. So I put up a picture of him and I on social media of us, right? So from there, it escalated. Those were the first little things, and it kind of, I don't want to say slowly because it was pretty quickly, but it was so insidious and so passive aggressive and manipulative that I didn't really understand what was happening to me at the time. He would tell me things like, you know, my ex, like he gave me the story about his ex-girlfriend cheating on him and how she was so suspicious and how she always kept her phone face down and she always blocked the banners on her phone. So when she got messages, he couldn't see who they were from and all these things. So I was like, oh, so maybe I should keep my phone face up and show my banner. You know what I mean? Like there's these little like things that happened that now I realize he was trying to manipulate me into doing that, right? But then it started turning into more overt things like, well, you should give me your password. If you trusted me, you should give me your password to your phone. I mean, if you have nothing to hide, you know, I want our relationship to be open. You can have my password. That's how relationships should be. You know, I don't want to end up with someone like my ex and blah, blah, blah. And it kept going and going. And then the rules started slowly coming in where it was, you know, I had to go to bed at a certain time and I had to have sex with him so many times a day because that's what he needed. And again, he's so nice to me. So I can do these little things for him. I mean, I have to give him what he wants. So it was that kind of thing. So those were the types of things that he did at the beginning that were red flags that seem like gigantic red flags now looking back. But when you're in it, because they're not being mean to you or because it's so passive aggressive, it doesn't seem as bad as what it actually is. And those are some major signs that things are going to escalate. Went out with my friends. That was not out of kindness. That was him making sure that I'm not leaving with other men or knowing, you know, making sure he knows where I am. And again, because it's presented as being kind or as being caring or concerning or as just being attentive to their feelings because they're so attentive to yours, you just don't think it's a problem or as much of a problem as it really is.
It was those behaviors and I would say vocabulary of slowly criticizing me for the same exactly things which they were admiring me and appreciating me at the very beginning of our relationships. So that got me confused. Like, why would they say that I change? Or why would they say that I'm not the same person? Like, why would they say that we are not a good fit anymore? So I would go to those cycles of questioning myself. Did I do anything wrong? And because of my childhood and some trauma there, I was going to prove myself, explain myself, and just be a better person. So the abuse started increasing from criticizing me to actually silence treatment, and it got to the place where that person packaged all my luggage and belongings and threw it on the street and left me with no explanation at all, and just with the feeling of being rejected and that there is something wrong with me, which my mind was just going crazy of what did I do wrong? Like, there was actually nothing what I changed at all. But that's what's really grooming about, because when I refused some of his demands, which that person wanted me to prostitute myself so he could be gaining some financial outcome of that, and I said no to that, that's when that person put my luggages out of the door and didn't want to speak with me anymore. In this story, I'm going to share with you how I almost became a sex traffic victim and how I was able to run away. So in this very particular relationship I was in, it took 4 months for this person to share with me that actually their idea is to gain financial assets from me prostituting myself with different clients. And when that person announced it to me, why would I not do that? That's when like my brain was shattered in pieces, because I froze. I couldn't tell him reasons why I couldn't do it, and I couldn't understand how he could ask me for that. And it was a situation when this person actually said, you know, you can lie on the back of the car naked and I'm going to bring you clients in few minutes. And I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. Making the long story short, later on when I refused doing any of the behaviors he was demanding on me, he basically stopped being nice and kind and all these behaviors he was giving me at the beginning, and he put my belongings, my clothes, out of his apartment. He actually hired somebody to pack it all and had all those clothes delivered to my workspace And he just stopped talking to me. Probably, looking for another target, because that's how a groomer works. If he don't get what he wanted from you, he's going to find somebody else. The last stage of grooming is maintaining abuse. The abuser uses manipulation, fear, and isolation to maintain the control and dependency over the victim.
I felt so seen by him, but I didn't understand that he was basically stalking me.
I would make jokes about, if he really cared about me, he would stalk me, ha ha ha, thinking it was funny until that really actually happened to me.
Even when he finally moved out from our shared apartment, he moved in the same building. I even thought he's gonna try to break in and rape me, but he still keeps on coming. He creates like fake accounts on Instagram and Facebook.
He would show up at my daughter's school when I would leave her there and just watch, and he would follow me to work.
He stalked me for 2 years, showing up, banging on my window, climbing over my fence.
He phoned me one time and he said, you better take me back or I will kill you. I will kill you. And I was just so shocked. And he said, I'm an ex-soldier. I have killed people and I will kill you if you don't take me back. And I just went, okay, yeah, I'll give you another chance. And I put the phone down and I didn't tell anybody. I was so ashamed because I was always defending him. I was defending him to my friends and my family, and everybody said he was bad news.
But before my own healing, I had no idea that grooming can happen at any age. So maybe you are in your 60s or 50s and you are just realizing, wow, that's exactly what happened to me, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So that's why I feel that awareness is power, and please share this episode with anyone who might be going through some tough situations. Together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Someone else out there is living our life. Someone else out there is living the life that all of these survivors and thrivers have escaped right here, right now. You can pick up any newspaper, you can go online to any news outlet, and you'll hear about mostly women, some men, but mostly women who are killed by their boyfriends, who are killed by the children of their father. You hear it all the time. And so there's someone out there right now that is living your survivor story. And when you start speaking, you give that person hope. So suddenly, with the hope, they start to have this idea of choice. And that is really possible. That's where you can really help someone create great impact in that person's life, and if they stay on the path, they can then in turn create great impact in their life. They can end generations of trauma. They can end generations of codependency, generations of women and men picking the wrong partners and staying and not understanding what's going on. And I think that is so encouraging, and that's why you do what you do, because you want to encourage people to awaken and to take ownership over their life in a powerful way and to tell their story.
You just don't know what people have gone through in this life to live, to stay alive, to breathe, to not cry, to hide their laughter because someone else doesn't want them to laugh. Someone says, oh, well, blah, blah, blah has happened to me. Immediately take a breath and say, what if that were me? How could I handle that?
Your reality can change. Who you are can evolve. You need to focus on love to access the reality of who you are. You need to embrace love in your life.
But that's what we're missing in this universe. It's love. And that is the antidote to hate, crime, pain, depression, anxiety, and hurting each other.
I hope you enjoyed this documentary, and I would love to invite you for the next one, which is all about red flags. If this episode resonates with you, please go to exposenetwork.com. You will find the link below, and we would love to learn more about you and your story. Could you do me a favor and share this episode with at least 2 of your friends who might be going through some difficult, challenging relationships? Remember, together we can make a difference. Thank you. So we are ready for the open panel. How are you guys doing? I'm aware that the content has been triggering, so you might want to consider, tapping, getting some water. I see there has been a lot of messages. I'm going to read them all later as I was sharing the screen, and I wanted to make sure I don't distract the audience who could see my chat when I share the screen. But I'm curious, tell me what comes up for you. Of course, like if there was anything you learned new, I would be so happy to hear. Nice.
Once again, I have to thank you for this beautiful, beautiful, clear expression of the pain so many people are in, and they don't know why. They don't know that they don't deserve it. They don't have the support that they need. And I'm involved in this work, and I will share that until you really appreciate, and it takes years, that your family of origin is the setup for this. It's a setup. And the red flags need to be recognized in your family dynamic, but this is not taught yet in school. So what I'm aware of is getting from surviving to thriving. What's the journey? What's the process? And the balance between privacy and healthy boundaries and full vulnerability and telling people what's happening and the truth, and then removing that bubble. Our culture is so screwed up of blame and shame and judgment, and it's your fault, and you this and you that. When you think of moving a massive mountain, this is how, or eating an elephant, what do they say? One bite at a time. So thank you for just creating a space for this to become part of a greater conversation. And I think you're right in calling it a movement, but not Me Too. The Me Too movement didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? The Me Too movement was not enough. And so I'm hoping that we'll get more men on board, and we'll break down the barriers of shame and judgment for the guys who are carrying that burden and really have so few avenues for releasing what they're experiencing. Just thank you for this. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Anais. It's what moved you? Is there anyone else would like to add to if there was any moment you felt it was too much or what wasn't there? We have actually Kelly joining us. Kelly is one of the speakers. I will give a welcome. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you. Are you able to talk?
Yes.
Yeah, we just all right. All right. Can I spotlight you? Is that okay with myself? Could we have a chat?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
And then I add myself so you don't feel you look great.
You too. Thank you.
This Grace, she was the co-host, and we just saw the documentary, and we witnessed your story. You know, you've been through a lot, and you not only rose up, but what you are doing today, it's amazing. Could you share how is your life nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, so I went through a lot of trauma recovery. I went through a lot of intensive counseling, a lot of different types of therapies like EMDR and all kinds of DBT, and finally got to be in group therapy and things like that. And once that group therapy was done, I was like, oh, that's it. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't want to lose the connection with these other women and these other survivors, because I feel like, we just really uplift one another. And it's very easy to forget your tools. They might be in your toolbox, but it's very hard to use them in the moment. And a lot of the times we're sitting back going, oh, I wish I would have been able to use this tool in the moment. And it's really good to have a community of other survivors around you to remind you of the different things that we can utilize in our daily lives, because a huge traumatic event may happen, but that doesn't mean that life is going to suddenly stop being traumatic. Whether you have PTSD or not, there's so many different ups and downs and ebbs and flows in life. You're constantly reacting to something. And if you don't stay consistent with your therapy and bringing in new tools and coping mechanisms, it's very easy to kind of slide back, and it makes it difficult to just process and respond everything else that's going on in your life, and it becomes very overwhelming. And so we agreed that we all wanted to stay together after the program, and I started a peer-led group with the women, and so I facilitate that. We do it every other week, and we get together, we check in, and we discuss what's going on in our lives and how we could have done better, or just sitting around validating one another, because that is so huge. And I think sitting here and watching this documentary, I'm being a part of it is one thing, but then when you sit back and you listen to like all the other survivors, it's so validating. And that's such a huge part of healing, because abusers really, they segregate you, and they make you feel like it's you, and that's not the truth. And so when you start being validated by other survivors and being validated outside of those circumstances, the energy is so, it brings more life to you. And so I do a lot of speaking events for military things. I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations, just trying to spread the word. And within the community, there's always someone in need. And it does become heavy, but I love that people know that they can come to me, and that I will help them find the tools and the resources to get to where they want to be in the future. So and this was really great, like just like I said, watching all of the stories and being able to listen to everything put together has just been great. So thank you so much, because this was a great experience, and it's just been so empowering to come back and listen to it all together. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you, Kelly. Wow, I didn't expect that update, but I'm so, it's not about resilience. I don't think it's resilience. I think we all can get to that place in a community, and but I want to celebrate your badass in all of that and how you turn it 360 degrees around, and who you are today, your presence, and being so grounded, and now doing all that amazing work. Like, who am I talking with? I don't know if that's Kelly. I'm not sure if that's Kelly. Like, yeah, like, cause like a new name. Um, but I see some hands. I just want to celebrate you, sister, and thank you for joining us and finding time in your busy life. I'm so it brings a lot of joy to my heart. Honestly, it does.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And now we have, I don't know who was first. Trisha or Anais want raise their hands, but I'm not sure who was first. Let me remove the pin. Can you help me? Oh, Trisha. Okay. Add pin. Okay. Hey, beautiful. How are you? You look like a Barbie. Sorry, but
Oh,
you look good. I
I
mean,
don't feel like one. I was grooming dogs, so I'm covered in dog hair right now. So I only got to catch like the middle to end of it, but man, you've done such a tremendous job, and I have to say, like, hearing these stories again from different women, it's like we're repeating each other. Same experiences, different dude, like, or woman for the men, whatever. It's just that was kind of triggering to me because there's things, and this has happened to me so many times when I've spoke about this or been asked, what happened. It's like the damage that's done to your brain in narcissistic abuse, where you just completely go blank, and it's like I forgot my words. I couldn't speak my thoughts or even remember things that happened. People asked me questions in podcasts and things that I did. And it's like I couldn't even answer the question they asked me because it was just like wiped. Like, you can't function. So it was really neat and empowering and healing and validating to hear other women's stories that had the words that I couldn't say sometimes, to be like, yes, that's exactly how I felt. That's exactly what I wanted to say, but it was just like, you're in a brain fog. But you're doing an incredible job. This is super powerful. I hope it reaches everyone in the world like The Chosen has, because it's got to change. This is so prevalent in our society, and it happens all day, every day, to the point where people are numb to it and not affected by it. And it's disgusting, because these are human lives. These are souls. These are actual people, not Tupperware. And I love the sisterhood and brotherhood that you've created for all of us, and how we have each other to lean on, to support. And there's so many incredible people in this group that have contributed to this, that have a gift or a talent that can help us in so many ways if we just reach out and unite, and you've brought that all together. So thank you. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I take it in. I was going to make a joke like, how? Because you are a groomer for the dogs, you got a certification. I thought that would be a way to break the tension here. Like in the dog language,
Yeah, I only speak dog now. I don't connect much with people unless it's got 4 legs and barks.
But you said something I just want to highlight. Sometimes, you know, so many people said the same words, and it's like different dude or girl was doing that, or the energy behind it, right? You could say. And then you said that second thing, that sometimes when I heard somebody saying exactly what I thought, but I had the fog to say it, it was in a way healing, or like just revealing, or like how we are all connected, and how this is not really behind the walls like people think it is. It's like rare because the statistics, but statistics, let's be honest, it's all based on people who report. You know, I reported just once and I had 5 of those relationships. You know, later on I got discouraged with the system. But thank you. It's such great to see you. Hello to your friend on 4 legs.
My mascot.
Oh. Yeah, I remember him from your post. But I know there's Anais. Remove pin. I love the technology. It today works good. I mean, give some applause for it. It's okay. Well, let me do like color review, and now add pin. Okay, there you are. And then we have Anna and Dr. Pauline. I remember the order. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I speak now.
The stage is yours. Yes.
Well, Anastasia knows some of my story, but in this environment, I'm going to share other elements of my story that she doesn't know. And that is when I was in a long-term abusive relationship with a very, very narcissistic man who we had my child from my first marriage, and we had a darling little 2-year-old, almost 3 son from our union. And my family knows about community. We know about helping each other. We know about supporting each other, but this was not something he was familiar with. So in the course of moving and him transitioning for reasons I won't go into, he decided that in his mid-30s, he wanted to become a doctor. And I totally supported that. I was 100% behind it. But I also had my life, and I also had what I was interested in doing. And he was not able to understand that he had a life, I had a life, and we had a life together. So we had a beautiful home. I'm a go-getter, and I had managed to put a lot of things together so that we were in a very, very good financial position for him to begin medical school, and I could continue doing what I wanted. But his ego couldn't handle that. So he decided that he needed to be a big fish in a little pond instead of just going to a very prestigious medical school where we already lived, where the kids were happy in school, where I was doing what I wanted to do. That he could not tolerate. And so while we were, figuring stuff out over the course of quite a bit of time, I got pregnant again. And then we had to navigate that and discussions and agreements and conversations. And then we did come to an agreement that because I was set, I knew exactly what I was about, and I could very well manage 3 children. I came home from work on Friday, and I went into the kitchen, hi, everybody, everybody's coming in. I'm going to come in and make dinner. And he came up to me and said, listen, I've made an appointment for you to have an abortion in the morning. And if you don't do it, I'm going to take the kids and you'll never see them again. And I knew him well enough at that point to know that that was not an idle threat. I got very quiet, which is what I tend to do when I'm hit with that kind of energy. I get very quiet and I listen within. Like, let me not make things worse by being reactive. So I didn't say much. And, just that was challenging because we had reached an agreement and I was now 12 weeks pregnant. So I got quiet and I said, well, I think, we could talk this through, but I think I want to have some support in this situation. So I'm going to call my mother. Called my mother and asked her to please come over. She came over. We laid out the situation. She looked, she listened. She said to me, I'll go with you in the morning. My mother.
It was betrayal.
So,
betrayal,
yeah,
double betrayal.
double betrayal in the space of like 2 hours. And the last possible thing that I could endure would be my children going through a disruption in their lives that would be incredibly damaging. And so, much like that biblical story where the baby's going to get cut in half, I acquiesced. To this day, I regret it. I have never forgiven him. I have never forgiven my mother. And when I came back, this is the level of insensitivity. I no longer have a voice. I'm speechless. I'm barely able to speak to my children because of the emotional turmoil. And I crawl into bed to rest, and I'm just sort of laying there like a complete vegetable and wondering how I'm going to find the resilience to move forward. And this is what I wanted to say to you, Anastasia. I wanted to call you out on your remark about resilience. Resilience is how we get through this. Do not ever underestimate what in you may seem like you're hanging on by a thread, but that's where your resilience is. Your resilience in your situation, Anastasia, was to say, no, I'm not doing that. That's it. I'm not doing that. So I'm in bed and this man comes up and he's got a tray and he's cooked a steak and there's a rose in a vase. There were no words for this. There were no words for this. And I had an appointment to keep on Monday. I had agreed to change professions and start court reporting school because that would enable me to support the entire family while he went to medical school. I went on Monday morning. I kept my commitment to my children. And the resilience in me was move forward, and you're going to find a way to keep your commitment to yourself without this bastard. It's going to take time, but you are going to do this because you have the resilience. And you have to have it because you have no support from anywhere else. So I wanted to share that. I haven't been through some of the extremes that some of the other people in the film have shared. But I do want to be very clear because I do this work as a life coach. If this has touched you in any way, the energetic work is essential. Because when your energy field is damaged, you can't see that. When you're cut, when you're stabbed, when you're shot, there's a response for that because it's seen and people can touch it and people can close up your wounds and you can be sent home and your body will heal. But these dynamics damage your energy field. Without your energy field, you don't have a life. You do not have a life. And so I want just to share that part of the coming together in community in this is not to leave any stone unturned because you may recover. I mean, it took me a long time. And through that, I call myself a fireproof woman, and that's my community because the list is long. It started in childhood and it repeated 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 in school and everywhere I went. I was not safe. I was not valued. I was not loved. So that is holding the space for understanding the complete picture and not just half of it. And when you don't go into the energy work at a deep level, you're only dealing with half of what is really going to damage somebody for a long, long time. So my last word on this is really cultivate your resilience. What Anastasia has done here is created a way to cultivate the resilience that comes with an awakened, informed community where we stand up. And I'm not afraid to use my voice now. I will say anything to anybody. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you don't approve. Because that, for me, has been the way forward with myself and with so many other people. So as you're going forward with this, I just hope we are now leading from where we once were. Don't ever forget that. That if you're on the other side of this and you're thriving and surviving, you need to be able to see the people who are where you are now, where you once were, and honor everything about their journey. Now, you and I were supposed to do one of these conversations, and tech screwed us up. So I'm making my piece now. But really, really, really reach into and for each other, communicate, and recognize that if somebody's telling you 3 fingers on one hand or 2 fingers, there's 3 fingers that you don't know anything about. You may not know anything about, and they may not tell you until they feel absolutely certain that you are a safe space and that you will support their resilience, whatever that looks like. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Grace, I saw something came up for you. Would you like to share anything?
No,
No?
not right now.
Just checking out how's everybody, but that was powerful. And thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, can't imagine how it was for you. I can't, nobody can imagine really. Only you know. But what you highlighted, resilience, the meaning of it, that life force from which brings us now together, which says no. Even though I struggle with boundaries, am able to say no to things like that. You know, it's kind of badass of me, I guess, of us. But I want to keep the time and make sure I respect your time. And I know Paulette, let's see. Thank you, Anais, and Adpin. I'm getting smarter, guys, I think, with all the technology. But am I pronouncing correctly, Dr. Pauline, your name? You're muted.
Yes, you did. And I think Anna was next, but let me just go because that was such an amazing story. And if I spelled your name properly. I didn't really know what I was expecting to come on today, Anastasia. I think we only met once some time ago. But I think it was absolutely amazing how you brought that video together. And I agree with everybody who said everything. It's a piece that needs to be out in the world because so many women are marginalized. I'm very blessed that I haven't had traumas in my life. And so maybe that's my blessing for my story. But I work with a lot of women across the world in different nations, different cultures, across Africa. I lived in Malaysia for 4 years. I come from Great Britain. I live in America. And these stories are everywhere. And we still live in a world where half the world is female and is totally marginalized. So we need to make sure that we continue this. And as I think Tricia said as well, is it's got to stop. It's got to create a different place. And I study it at the kind of the very big level of the globe, and how do we create global harmony? How do we shift the blueprint from what has been a very male blueprint to one that is more woman-centric? Because women have always been put at the bottom of the food chain, and we need to change that. So that's what my mission is to keep on having magical conversations, which are getting men and women to the table and tackling the topics that are really difficult, which are abuse and violence and marginalization and discrimination and all of these things, and then put in a very positive future. What is the future? So I would say one of the things to have a conversation about is, what is the future we would really like to have if we could have a magic wand and make it now? So we would have one without violence, without abuse, where people understand each other and we actually have conversations. And that's my passion. So my book is The Power of Authentic Harmony. And I believe that if we plug the universe into authentic harmony, we could have a very different kind of power structure in the world, which is not aggressive and not corrupt and not greedy. And that, to be honest, the way things are going in the world, they're getting worse and worse and worse. But we're bursting the blister, and we've got all the pus coming out, and we've got to deal with the pus so that we can get rid of it. And so we have to trust in the universal spirit that's bringing us all together. I really appreciate what you've done, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Because what you've created and what you've put together is so stunningly honest and transparent and courageous. And my mission in the world is to create a joint custody world with love, to co-create men and women who are wise, get rid of the unwise, neurotic, narcissistic ones, but get the wise ones to the table and create a joint custody world where we actually start again and, become visible. And so I just love what you're doing, and I really appreciate you, and I appreciate being here. So thank you. Thank you for all the stories shared.
Thank you. Yes, the butterfly. I brought Anais because I felt like did you wanted to add anything, Anais, or no? No, you're muted, Anais.
My mouse has got a pad in front of it. The vision is clear. The voice and the understanding and finding where we can meet people where we are and where they are and where we've been, that's, I think, a space of growth. And I think you've set a beautiful platform for this to begin to evolve in that way. I just think it's just gorgeous. Thank you, Dr. Pauline. I too have worked around the world, many countries, and I call myself a first wave fireproof woman. I think Anastasia is probably a third wave fireproof woman, and there's another generation in between us that are second wavers. And this is men and women and children. And yes, we are, I think, going to arrive into that world of harmony that you described, Dr. Pauline, unfortunately by being forced to rather than going voluntarily. So call me up. I'll go with you voluntarily. We'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Well, both of you are in America, so we can call each other without roaming. Anyways, jokes on the side. But I just wanted to add that fog, which Anais was mentioning before, which keeps coming back when we are doing healing, which has to do a lot of the energy work. So it's so complex, but I'm so happy that we get to, on this live panel talk about it, because I didn't mention it, but here it is. Here it is. So, and it's going to be on the replay. So thank you for that. I'm going to move to Anna. Remove pin here. How are you, Anna?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Anastasia. I wanted to say thank you to you for putting this together, and especially to all the survivors who are thriving
because firstly, I'll just introduce myself. Yes, I do work in the healing space, both on a genetic level, but also on an energetic level. And the thing that, you know, that we see constantly, and I'm, you know, been supporting women and men through abuse, through, you know, people scared to leave their relationship, so they're going through that transition. So it was really good to see all of the stories, and this is so great because we can share this video and show others that you're not the only one going through this. Have a look at this, and so much learning. And I believe that this is just the beginning. You know, in this video, it's mainly about relationships, people in relationships, but like Anais said, it starts from childhood. Whether you are in an abusive, you know, relationship as a child, whether it be your parents or your siblings, I think that that's something we need to show in some of the next documentaries, because whether you were a victim of that, growing up in that environment, and you then choose, as we know, we choose similar relationships, whether it was from the mother or from the father abuse, because that's all you know. But even those who didn't go through abusive relationships and have a pure heart, and they wouldn't understand to recognize what, you know, being groomed looks like, or, you know, recognizing what a narcissist is, because they've never been shown that this is not normal, because they grew up in it. So whether you've been exposed or whether you haven't been exposed, it's the awareness is the most important thing. And this is the truth that is always been hidden, and it's being exposed. And that awareness is so, so critical, because the group, I mean, we're indoctrinated from school. We have to follow orders. We have to follow the line. We have to toe the line. And we you know, that to be able to have critical thinking has been pretty much taken out of the individual by the time, you know, they're in a serious relationship and they're mature. So the whole system has to change, which I believe is what Dr. Pauline's talking about. And that blueprint is changing. And the more we speak out loud, the more there's awareness, the more we spread the word, the more we share, it will change everything. Because once the truth is out, and you can't keep the truth down forever, it is coming to the surface. And we are part of those pioneers. I mean, and all of those before us who have been trying to speak out, and some of them were killed because of it. And that was, you know, the first generation of speakers, the people that spoke out in amongst a world that was suppressed. You weren't allowed to speak, especially if you were female. Now it's changing, thank goodness. So we owe it to all of those pioneers and all of those spirits who spoke before us, and I thank them. And I thank those who came back to continue the work in spirit. And I'm really grateful, Anastasia, that you had the foresight and you did the training to learn how to put the documentary together, and it's incredible. And I think this is just the very, very beginning, and there is so much more that's going to be unfold. So thank you, especially to all of those who shared their pain, their story. A lot of, so brave. My goodness. Thank you.
When I'm the DJ for today, it was a button, like a fireworks. But I have the rocket ship. I did that before. Yay! Finally, we're yeah, we are changing the blueprint, and I'm so happy that people are, you know, making movies, writing books, like Dr. Pauline is writing. So there's so many ways of getting it out, and we are doing all together. Thank you, Anna, for your contribution and just the energy you are, and the presence, and supporting me, supporting me too. And, you know, and I know we all need sometimes when we are low. Like last year I was low after the premiere. I had many people reaching out to me, checking how I was doing after that attempt of a premiere, which didn't work. And I'm so grateful. Those attempts helped me to be grounded. And even having a call from Anais a few days ago, she called me and she's like, hey, I know, I'm going through some thing personally with my boyfriend around health. But she was like calling and saying, hey, if you need me, like, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And the same Anna, she messaged me about that. And I'm using that as example, really, that we are not alone. And sometimes it's little thing like this, and it grounds you for the whole day, because that really gave that sparkle, because the intent was there, the energy was there. It felt good in the body to receive that. It did. And it's so little, right? So I want to emphasize that. And that's, part of the new system, which we get to co-create through little things with my funny accent. Paulette. Oh no, I didn't pronounce it. I feel it. No, I know. Yeah, could you teach me again how I should pronounce your name?
It's Paulette.
Paulette.
Yeah.
I'm
Paul
so.
with the net on the end. It's okay.
I want to get it
listen,
right. I want to get it right. Paulette.
Paulette, that's it. I think the most important thing for me throughout everything that I see, I hear, and everybody talks about community. Everybody talks about the whole when we used to sit around the fire and we would talk, and people had your back, and you could have that open dialogue. That went, and it's not come back. But what you've created here is a new fireplace with everybody who's been scarred in some way, everybody who's been hurt in some way, everybody who feels that there is a wound that's either been unhealed or is still raw or can be traumatized by watching and hearing even something on the television in a program that is before the watershed. You see about a child or a kid or a young person who's being abused in some way on a sitcom type entity, and you're like straight back there. Okay. And what I feel is that we don't see that. We don't realize that what we're watching on the television, what we see in films, what we read in books can re-traumatize us, and also normalize. That's the key here. We must never, ever normalize what's happened to ourselves, because it is not normal or acceptable. Not normal and not acceptable. And so when you see something on the television, that doesn't normalize it. That doesn't make it okay. It just means that they realize that it is a storyline that is relevant because it's happening in the real world. But it doesn't normalize it, and it doesn't make it okay. And that's the key here. We must never, ever feel that any kind of trauma that has been put on us is normal. Just because we're seeing it, just because we're hearing about it, just because it's now out there in the form of film, television, whatever, doesn't take it away from what happened to you. And that to me is so important. And when I talk to people and they say to me, but it's happening to people all over the place, and even it was on one of these programs on the television and I saw it and blah blah blah, and I say, so that makes it okay? There's murders happening every day. They're on film and television. Does that make that okay? Well, of course not. Well, then why does that make it okay for you to watch that and see that and say, oh, well, maybe it's okay for people to treat you like that? It isn't, it was never, and it never will be. And that's the end, full stop. And for me, that's the key message, is never allow anyone to normalize your pain or normalize what happened to you, because it wasn't normal. And this is not normal behavior. And eventually, when we get into the real world of groups like this, where you understand that there are so many more of you, right? We agree that it's not normal. And we stand shoulder to shoulder and we say, it's not normal. Don't tell us it's normal. Don't tell us, don't devalue what has happened to us by putting it in a sitcom or a film or a television program, because that doesn't make it normal. That just means you're trying to be relevant because you've heard about it. So that's my message to people, is never, ever, ever let anyone tell you this is normal or this is on the television, therefore it's okay, because it isn't. So that's my key message. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. I'm so amazed by how your brain works in the middle of night in UK, right? It's like midnight. What time it is there?
Yeah, 5 past.
1/2 past midnight, yeah.
Oh.
But
Yeah, 5 past midnight, you're right. Yeah.
What I love what you said is actually responding to Grace's question. We're talking about what the list of questions we're going to ask you, and Grace, we were brainstorming, right? And what you said, like, what did you say?
I can't speak right now. I'm like, there's a lot that's been coming through
Oh,
for the room.
yeah. So, can I say that question?
Yeah.
So Grace asked me to make this question about how can we stop that cycle? How can we stop that cycle? And that's what you just mentioned, to speak out when something comes up, instead of
Yes.
allowing being gaslighted when somebody wants to feel relevant. When you said to be like on the spot, confront on the spot when you have that feeling, this is not okay.
Absolutely.
I don't agree for it.
Yeah. Just because it's on the television, just because it's in a film, just because I've read a book about it, just because it's part of a plot of a movie, does not make it okay. And that's what we need for us. We need that for us so that we can say to ourselves, they are dehumanizing us and taking away our pain by making it okay. It's never going to be okay. It's never going to be okay. And we have to stand shoulder to shoulder and say that. So as soon as that is on you have to be able, in a funny way, and this is an odd thing to say, but you have to be able to almost watch that, but disassociate yourself from it. It's just a film. It's just a program on television. It's just a sitcom. It's just a whatever. It doesn't matter to you because you know it's actors. And that's the key. There is a differential between real life and acting. So if you see it on the television, if it starts to affect you, you have to say to yourself, these are people that are being paid to act. Does that make sense? There's a big difference. Yeah? I hope that makes sense.
It does for me, but I can speak for myself. But thank you. I think that, that's a great point on how media versus energy behind it can use that authority, just like in abusive relationship, to control and overpower and brainwash, like it happened to myself, many of us. The same with, how can I change the way you see the world by showing you some signs and symbols so you think it's normal. Because if I repeat it so many times, you start to think that's okay unconsciously without agreeing for it, just watching it.
I had a friend whose child said, it's okay if daddy hits mummy, as long as he comes home. As long as he comes home.
That's actually Crystal. Crystal said that in the expose.
And I in the first one.
Yes, yes.
And when I gave Crystal some therapy and counseling afterwards, and she said to me, I had to make a decision whether it was okay for my child to go through life thinking that was okay, and then what does she take forward to her children. So she made a stand. That was it. That was the final moment. But if you talk about teaching children, as you just said, Anne, if you teach children that, and I really think this is important, not even about the detail, because it's too big of a problem to teach children in one sort of PHSE lesson. But what we need to do is teach kids that what you see on TV and what you play on these games is not real life, right? When you kill someone when you're playing a game, when you rape someone on one of these what's it called? I forget what it's called. Is it something auto something or the other? Anyway, there's some game that you can play and they murder people, they can rape people, they can get involved with prostitutes. And my aunt said to me that a kid came at 8 years old. He said, I killed 2 cops, I raped somebody, and I did something else last night. She was like, what are you talking about? And it was a game, something theft auto, and it's so vicious and violent. But as long as I understand that's a game and this is real life, that's television and film and this is real life, that's the key. That is the key to all of this. Yeah, that differentiation. Right, I'm going to be quiet. Thank you.
No, that's what you said. It was so important, especially we need to start with children. I'm so happy you went there because you are also doing a lot of work with children. Would you like to share a little, like, on that? How I know I'm not digressing. I mean, not that. What's the word? I'm not
Digressing.
Digressing. No, there's a different word.
I mean, I work very much with the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and trying to teach children that, the subconscious mind knows nothing. It's just what it's heard. It's just all those continual messages over years that you're rubbish, you're useless, you're not worth anything, you'll never make anything of yourself, you'll never be any good, blah, blah, blah. But the conscious mind says, hang on a minute, that's not right. We know better. We were good at riding a bike. You said I couldn't ride a bike, but I rode it. I did do it. And I'm trying to teach children to listen to their conscious mind and their thinking mind. So we have Jack and Walter, and Jack's the little boy who hasn't got a clue, is all over the place. And Walter is his inner voice. So they're the same person, Jack and Walter, but Walter is the one that's teaching him, hang on a minute, let's think about this before we make these decisions. And then, we've dealt with lots of really difficult things like bereavement, starting a new schools, new homes, those kind of things. We're going to have the next one is the news, which is terrifying for kids right now. They keep thinking there's going to be a third world war. Talk to children and they're convinced because it was the heading on a newspaper. That's all it takes to scare the life out of children, right? So you think when we read a story about a man who's been put away for 13 years for rape or whatever, or 13 years in an abusive relationship, beating up his wife and whatever, and you think that's all he got? That's the one that got caught. Forget about the thousands that are out there doing it again and again and again. This is why this community standing up and saying no. We can't name and shame. If we name and shame and list, we'll end up in court. But what we can do is stand up and say never again on my watch. Right? And that's what I believe we do now. And that's what your community is doing. And Grace, you're in there as well. As quiet as you are, darling, you're in
She's
there as
taking,
well.
soaking it in.
And we are.
She's soaking it
She's
in.
soaking
Believe me.
it. Soak
Yeah.
it up. Because believe me, the most important message for me from what we've heard today is that we are not alone. And that is what everybody has to understand. It's not a brotherhood. It's not a sisterhood. It's a painhood. It's a painhood. And we got this painhood and we're working together with this pain and making it better. And it's the only way forward. So thank you very much for listening to me.
I get hot listening to you. I had to unzip myself and but anyways, I love what you mentioned, the example. I mean, the work you're doing with children is first of all amazing. Please do it more. And we need more women, people. I know you have your time to rest and relax. You need that too, more than anything else probably. But I love, you're somebody who doesn't need to do it. You're doing it for free, helping. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. And helping foundations and I probably should don't talk more, but I want to celebrate that energy because there are people who are secretly helping and doing beautiful things. The energy of that it's amazing. It's amazing, and I want to acknowledge you, your heart, your generosity, and your story. Like holy. Not everybody knows your story. I know your story. I had the pleasure to interview you. I'm not going to bring this now, but Paulette has amazing story, and it's just she became everything she didn't have. That's how I can call it. She just became it, and now she's doing it for others. And yeah, I recognize that, and thank you. And I like just lastly before I give the mic to Sheldon and Anais, those will be the last shares if there's no more shares. I love what you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, probably Anais will share about how the mind doesn't recognize the reality and imagination. So I will leave this to you, and I will bring Sheldon. Okay, I'm a little tired, surprisingly. Okay, sorry. Now we go. Okay. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I want to thank you all for your amazing, heartfelt shares today. I wrote a few lines about. I'm part of this documentary as well. Somewhere along the way, I wanted to just read a few lines that I actually wrote today during our discussion here. I've always believed that awareness is the first step to change. That's why in my work, whether it's through my books, my speaking, or my courses, I focus on helping others find their inner strength, even when they feel like they have none left. Just like in my book, Keep On Walking, I want people to know that no matter how dark things get, they can keep moving forward. That's the message I carry with me every day, and the one I hope to inspire in others. In the end, it's about building resilience, it's about helping people find their way back to themselves, their purpose, and their strength, just like I did. My life, my work, and my writing are all dedicated to that mission, helping others rise from adversity and reclaim their power. So that's very brief. That's what I wrote up today just from listening to you all, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon. Thank you. You're such an introspective man, and I love how your mind works, how you're creative, and thank you for the putting like a summary of all what happened today in a nutshell. Is that the word? Nutshell. Thank you, and highlighting the resilience and seeing the light out coming when we are going through the darkness. We need that many times, that reminder. And now we don't have to do it alone. So thank you. And Sheldon, yes. Thank you also for sharing your story in the Expose documentary series. Thank you for your voice. Thank you. There is 14 more episodes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Anais, if I don't see any more hands in the next few minutes, this will be the last share, because I want to honor the time and that we are here, but then we have to live the life, right? With the messages we learn. And honestly, me and Grace today were going for festival, guys. So that's also why we have to get ready, because we need to put the clothes on. So that's the real reason here. So yeah, because the movie got nominated and yay! So that's another yay. And so we, but let's go back to Anais.
I want to thank Sheldon for sharing. He was the lone male voice here today, and it was a beautiful culmination of what we've been talking about. What I wanted to share, the experience that I have, and what I share with my clients and in my programs, is really taking to the people to the place where they actually feel that they are whole, that they were never broken, that they were not born broken. This is as bad a game as the games where children learn to kill cops. And it's what we do with our imagination. So the brain does not differentiate between what we imagine and what we perceive as real, which speaks to the power of the imagination. So I would just like to say once again, Anastasia, thank you for being such an incredible steward of your imagination to bring this to life. Astonishing. And I just would love to also communicate the message to everyone who sees this and responds to it. Remember that you are whole, you always have been, and you always will be, no matter how you are guided into believing something else while you live on this planet.
You are whole, and you always will be. That's so deep and powerful and true. Thank you all. Thank you all. Goodbye, everyone. No party tonight. But what I found is that the people who used to gather to share their stories in front of the fire, they used to also sing and dance. So I was like, oh my God, my idea of after party was always right. Like they knew it, They knew it. So I hope you get to celebrate in some way. I mean, celebrate, I'm not sure if that's the word I wanted to use, but more, you might get triggered today as, your brain is processing things and things can come out from your childhood or something really scary. But I also want to support as much as I can. I will be on the event, but I will keep my eye on the messages. But also remember that there are those two techniques you can use, or walk barefoot, do some check-in, scan, what can I see, what can I smell, my legs, my feet, whatever works for you. But some deep care, or make like Ollie like this, which probably is his way of bringing joy to the service. The joy which always has been there. Joy is right, the madness, all of the parts. Thank you all, those watching on YouTube. Thank you guys, and see you on the premiere on the second documentary out of 15, and that will be in 2 weeks at the same time, the same hour, just different topic, red flags. Is there anything anyone want to say before we close the room?
Yeah, I think I want to.
Yes, you go ahead. And if you, anybody, my voice went so high. Oh my God.
I would say
Anybody, if anybody is to,
dziękuję.
what?
I would say dziękuję.
Oh, dziękuję. That's in Polish, Oli. Thank you. That's thank you. Thank you. I mean, I'm thanking myself right now. That's kind of funny.
For me, tying in community with the episode before, when was this? Maybe months ago, maybe before the premiere even. I came to Anna in the community asking a question. Could you review this document that I had? It was a transcription of an interaction that I had because I was confused. I must have spent like weeks to months worth of Googling and trying to search what happened. And that part was really healing when you guys were pointing out the different parts of it. But what I realized live as I was watching this episode was that that was actually an example of grooming, like through that document. And you can see it was matching. It was matching your stages that you had listed here. It was matching people's voices about what was happening, and I was remembering the specific lines, the specific words, the specific sentences that were said. And to have that moment live here beside you when you'd helped me with it through was something, it really was something huge. And then the other part that I remembered, because of the sheer amount of time spent and effort spent trying to figure out and understand what had happened, I was really tired at the end of it. And all of a sudden you have all this knowledge and you're thinking, oh my gosh, there's other people out there that are going through this. I want to help them, I want to save them. But for me, my particular situation, everything, I was completely exhausted. And I didn't think there was going to be a way that I could package everything that I had learned in such a way that would be impactful and help someone. Like the level of exhaustion I had was so deep. And I got a feel of it after the end of the documentary, which was, some weightlifting off the shoulders. But now being able to watch this episode and getting a sense of what the other future episodes are going to be, I feel this huge weight lifted completely off of me, that I can actually just take what you've created, what you've produced, sit a friend or a person that I meet down with it and go through it, and I can save some energy and effort. I'm not going to be depleted. You have saved me from depletion with this.
Well, you saved yourself. I was just the tool,
Yeah.
I'm the extra. You're...
I mean, maybe the future. Future anticipated depletion.
Yeah.
Because I probably would have been ready to do that, and then maybe the nurse and the rescuer and the healer and me would have just found myself in the future with very little left for my daughter. But now I feel like this is going to be easy. It's going to be easy to help lift somebody out of it because of what you've created and all the voices that have been shared in it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy you
I
shared.
think if I'm allowed to say the word, it's cathartic. It's cathartic.
Yeah. And it's funny, I just a little nonchalance, but the word catharsis, that was the first name which I wanted to name the documentary before the expose. It was catharsis. So there you go. There is your 7 cents coming out. But we are the energy of the divine. Thank you all. See you soon, guys. See you soon. Make sure to do whatever your body needs. You probably are depleted after 2 hours of sitting in a room without food and drinks. But for those who are on the video, love you all. And see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for staying to the end.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Enjoy the premiere. You deserve it.
Right. We have to do something. Look at my hair.
Oh, I was going to mention that. I was going to say, do something with your hair.
Too late.
Joking, you're beautiful. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.